welcome back to Entrepreneurial Shades of Grey. I'm Dani Dowse with my co-host, Miss Chelsey Sayasane. And today we're going to be diving into a topic that some of you may or may not struggle with. It's the side hustle.
Yeah.
You know, we're trying to figure out how to navigate that thing without burning bridges or burning yourself out. And we have a very familiar guest.
Yes. Yeah. You'll recognize his face. You'll recognize his voice. I sit beside him 3 hours out of the day. It's Joe Emer, Fox 10's one and only Joe Emer. Joe, thanks for being with us.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, a lot of you may not realize that Joe on the side does real estate. You've been doing it for quite some time. How long has it been now?
Since 2013 is when I got my license, so 12 years now.
Okay, and then when did you come to Fox 10?
2007.
All right, so.
And when were you born?
Yes,
1903.
So, right, 1903. Got it. So, you started here, obviously, years before you did this, and then you decided you're going to do this thing. I remember when you first started the real estate, there were some conversations that were had because it had to be crystal clear that your main job had to be your main job. What were those conversations like?
They went well here overall with the management at the time. I think they were a little concerned that if I started to do that I may want to go and do that full time and not do this anymore. But I explained to them that this was something I was pursuing because I was interested in it, but also just a way to help my family, my growing family at the time. That was the catalyst for this, was just being in a different stage of life than I was at when I initially came here. So management was pretty cool with it. They did voice some concerns, like I said, but as a whole, they agreed to let me do it. And what I tried to convince them of, which I think has become true over the years, is real estate didn't deter from what I do here at Fox 10. It actually enhanced it by meeting more people, knowing more about what's going on in the community, more topics, more conversations, and all of that tied directly into what we do here at Fox 10.
That is so true. And I've experienced that too, just in my stint in entrepreneurship, but in sales, because in sales, this is very entrepreneurial, right? And so just being out networking and doing things like that, it really truly does open up more opportunities for business here. So have you ever tried to sell Chelsey a house?
Well, here's the unique thing about real estate. I'm going to use your phrasing there. Did I ever try to sell her a house? What I like about real estate is when someone's buying a house, they have a want. So unlike some other sales, you don't have to try to sell them that. It's you're helping them fulfill a wish, a dream, whatever. So yes, Chelsey was in the housing market a few years back, and I was so happy to help her and Johnny find their home.
And we did, and it was great. And the backstory of that is great. Our minds and our eyes had been on a home that was under contract. It fell through a couple times before, but Joe kept his eye on it. Called me. It was like a Thursday evening at like 7:30, and he's like, "Hey, it fell through again." He's like, "Do you want to go look at it?" So he lived in West Mobile at the time. We met him in Saraland, and the rest is history. So we're thankful for him because we love that house. We still live in it, which is awesome. And to your point, though, it was so nice not having to go out and search because I knew that was like your side hustle. So I already trusted him. We already had a friendship, and so it was a natural business transaction. Like it just made sense for us, and I think it made sense for him too. My question is, at that time when you decided you needed a side hustle, I'm sure all of us get to a point of our life, maybe every day, where you're like, some extra cash would be really nice, right? How did you choose, and why did you choose real estate over like serving at night, or what? There's so many options. How did you come down to that conclusion?
So my first few years here at Fox 10 were very professional, but at the same time almost felt like grad school or something, because I had all these friends who were here from other places, and we would go out and we would have fun. Through working here at Fox 10, I met my wife, Katie, and we had a family on the way. So what got me interested in real estate is when we were looking for our first home. Elaine Sessions from Roberts Brothers was the one who helped us build our first home. We wound up building. But through the process of looking at houses and seeing what she did and then trying to think, well, I have some extra time here. Could I possibly do this as well? That's what led me to pursue going into real estate, and it really was a good fit. especially at that time for us and our family.
I think sometimes people may misunderstand getting a side hustle as something that you could just pick up and do. Like when you decided that you wanted to do real estate, that's an investment in itself to even learn how to do it. I tried to go to real estate classes back in the day. I don't know if they were online at the time, but it is a lot of information and a lot of work. What's the investment like, time-wise, commitment-wise, to even get into that industry?
Yeah, I love how you asked what's the investment like time-wise first instead of financially, because it is a time investment. You go to real estate school. So in some places it's different, but I think if I recall from 12 years ago, it was 60 hours of pre-license classes and 30 hours of post-license classes. So I went for 3 hours a night. I think it was 3 days a week. And then once you got to that point where you could start doing it, however much time you put into it is based on how seriously you treat it.
Yeah.
If you don't put much into it, you're not going to get much out of it. If you invest heavily into it, you will hopefully see the rewards from it, which we were able to do for indefinitely in the early stages.
And that timeline can expire too, right? From what I recall, like if you don't go and pass a certain test in a certain amount of time.
Correct. And then even after you get your license, you're still required to take 15 hours of continued education classes every 2 years. So the time investment does continue down the road. And that's just to maintain your license. One thing that's unique about real estate, which not a lot of people realize, is if you aren't selling, you're losing money because all of this costs money to do. So you really need to want to do it and understand, if you're considering a career in real estate, that you have to go all in, at least at first, to figure out how it's going to work for you.
Yeah.
How do you set the boundary with your side hustle job so that they understand that you're not my main job? How do you do that?
Yeah, real estate is unique in that there's a lot to that question you just asked. A lot of people do have real estate as their quote unquote side hustle because you can work around your schedule. But again, if you're not putting that much into it, you may actually be losing money or not getting much out of it at all. They were fine with me because I think they saw that I was definitely willing to work for it at first. My first few years in real estate, I did a lot of real estate, not trying to be whatever, but I was in the top 10% of realtors in the MLS in Mobile for the first several years. After the first, I would say, year and a half, I really had the availability to pursue it real seriously. Since then, my priorities have shifted somewhat because my kids have 2 things every single night after school. So now I spend a little bit more time with my family and a little less time focusing on the side hustle of real estate. But at first, to develop it, I was all in. And Roberts Brothers understood that. And I think they were fine with it because of how much I was doing initially.
For a side hustle like this in real estate, I'm not sure how many people do that or go all in their career. Do you have to let them know, like, hey, I'm in a period of time where I really want to work hard, or hey, we're really busy right now, or is it just is it your own business, essentially?
It is.
Yeah.
It is your own business, but certain brokerages are different. Not everyone will treat that the same. Some will say, okay, if you're not selling, then you need to go to a different company. With Roberts Brothers, and I think with Fox 10 too, and all the things I did, I've just tried to be really open and communicative with all the people involved. For example, I knew in the last few years, because our duties here at Fox 10 increased, Studio 10 went from 1 hour, then it went to 2 hours, then we had a Good Day Gulf Coast. So now we're on the air 3 hours of the day, in addition to having family stuff, activities with my kids all the time after the workday. So I just said to him, hey, there's a good chance there might come a time when my kids go off to college or whatever that I start really heavily investing into this once again. But right now you are going to see a decrease in my numbers. I just wanted to let you all know so you're aware of that. If you're okay with that, I won't be able to do as much if you guys are okay with that. We talked it through and they had some thoughts. There's certain things that some realtors do. You can put your license on referral, in which you're not actively selling, you're only referring to other realtors. I haven't done that to this point, But yeah, I am referring a little bit more while still selling from time to time.
So we like to talk about, obviously, the gray areas, the things that you don't know until you walk through it, the stuff that's just not black and white, cookie cutter type answers. What's one of the more memorable gray areas of the real estate industry that you had to navigate through?
Real estate, something new comes up every single transaction that you work on. And it may come up during the transaction, it may come up years later. I'll give you an example of both.
See that? Okay. I'm
Yeah.
interested to hear the years later because I'm
Okay.
like, wait a minute. 3 years ago. Okay.
Yeah, this one was actually 8 years ago. Something. So both of these things happened to me in the last month. One, we were working on a home sale with a client of mine. In the contract, it had written that they were going to get a concrete patio in the backyard. They happened to drive by while the construction of their new home was taking place, and there were some steps leading out from the back, and there was no concrete patio. That was something that was in the contract. So they called me, I called the company that was building the house. There was some back and forth, and it got to a point where I needed to get our brokers involved, my manager and their manager. They talked it out. At the end of the day, my clients got their concrete patio that they wanted. And that's one of those quality of life type things. If you envision when you buy a home yourself grilling out in the backyard and you have that in your contract and then all of a sudden the house is complete and you don't get there, that's a different thing. So you never know, to your gray areas point, when that's going to come up. The thing that came up years later was I sold a house, I think it was 2017, and my buyers who bought the house decided to put a swimming pool in the backyard. Well, their neighbors are selling their house, and the new buyer for that house said, "Hey, I think your swimming pool is over my property line." So you have to go back and look and figure out what are the options here, what can we do, is this going to become an issue, can everybody just talk it out? And there's 1,000 different ways that storyline can go. The main thing when it comes to shades of gray when you're talking about real estate is you build knowledge as you go, and if you don't have the knowledge, ask questions. Ask people who have been around for a long time, whether it's a qualifying broker that you trust, a friend who's in real estate, legal counsel. I think it's not safe to try to come up with an answer for your client if you really don't know what you're saying. You really need to get them the proper, right, correct answer.
So I imagine it's a very competitive industry. And so who do you go to? You said the brokers, but you, like, when you want that advice, you can't just go to somebody else who does what you do.
Right.
Because y'all are trying to achieve the same commission check.
Correct. The thing, have you ever seen, about people rooting for each other's success? For example, I've got a friend who just opened a coffee shop here, and a lot of his posts have been about other local businesses cheering them on. I think there is a thing in real estate where there's enough of the pie for everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, there's more and more humans on the planet all the time, right?
Yeah.
So there's more home buyers out there. So especially within my own company, Roberts Brothers, that I work for, everyone there has been great. Even though you're competing with each other, everyone has been willing to share advice, tips, thoughts, and all that sort of stuff. And I have friends from different brokerages who I talk to as well from time to time. But if I really need some advice, I'd probably talk to someone within my company. Not that I couldn't go outside, but I think even though it can be competitive, everyone, if you have an attitude of we're all working together to get people what they want, which is into houses, that's a positive thing. And so I think there is a way to go about that in a positive fashion.
For someone who is listening and they've been thinking about real estate, whether it's a side hustle or a career, what's the first step in the process? Because as we mentioned, it's an investment of time and money, but I learned through past conversations that it's a big investment of time, really, for you guys.
Yeah. The first step is to get your license by going to school. So you have to find a school that works for you. There are several different options in the state of Alabama to get your license, or Florida if you're listening, or Mississippi, or wherever. Look up your own real estate board. But the classes can be offered in person. They can be online. They could be a hybrid. There's lots of different ways to go about it. My advice is to figure out what works for you with one caveat. If you can take classes in person, I do think that's beneficial, because not only are you around other people who are taking the same classes, but they may ask a question you didn't think of.
Yeah.
And then also you have more of a sounding board with the person who's teaching the class to go back and forth with. So I do think the in-class environment does have a lot of benefits. But then again, there might be hybrid classes out there that are Zooms with a bunch of people that kind of can provide a similar thing. It's just finding out what works for you, your schedule, and how you can best learn what you're trying to do to get the expertise that you want to share with other people down the road.
That's a great point. What would you say to people who are just thinking about a side hustle in general, whether it's real estate or not? What are some things that they need to keep in mind as far as what they're taking on?
What do you want your life to look like? What are the most important things to you? Is it your primary job, your potential side hustle? Is it time with family? And you have to figure out a side hustle that's going to be able to, like a puzzle, fit into that equation.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people start a side hustle and the puzzle piece doesn't fit, or it takes too much time, and then it doesn't work out to be a good thing. However, I also at the same time don't want to discourage someone from getting started if they don't have it all figured out, because sometimes you do have to figure things out as you go along too. But I would just say be open, be flexible, and don't be afraid of failure, because a lot of it is going to be learning from your mistakes when you start. That's the only way you get to where you want to go eventually. It's all growth and learning.
That is so good. Yeah. You know, we've got to be able to learn from our failure. And I do think that I know that your side hustle fits so beautifully into what you do here. It has personally helped me with the virtual tours that my clients have been loving, by the way.
Awesome.
I've had people even, reach out to me and say, hey, how can I do that? Because Chelsey does you do an amazing job too. Joe approaches it with, you approach it with a real estate mind frame. You know what, buyers or people interested in moving are looking for, the closet space or the stainless steel appliances, right, and all the things. So I appreciate you.
Yeah, that worked seamlessly together on those shoots, especially when the person that we were speaking with was so knowledgeable at so many things but didn't really know how to describe the benefits of the apartment itself.
Right.
They were talking all about the amenities, which were phenomenal, but they're like, I don't know what to talk about. I'm like, these are quartz countertops. People love quartz, that kind of stuff. So
that's so funny.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm like, what's quartz over here? Like, what's that? So if I could see it, it does.
Is it
To
pretty?
Y'all's point, yeah, it does help for sure. So for people who are curious, I mean, where are you at in your real estate side hustle right now? I know personally, because you need to take a nap every now and then, my friend, but I know y'all are busy.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster in a kind of planned way. It's not a roller coaster I didn't anticipate, in which you start small and then you build up. And like I said, there was a while there where I was doing a ton of real estate on purpose. Then the hours at Fox 10 increased and my kids got involved. So I have been drawing that down. One thing I'm never going to do is commit to a client if I don't think I can do the best possible job for them. So right now with the kids and with Fox 10, if I was doing a ton of real estate, I still could do that, but I don't think I'd be doing a very good job for the client, and I'm not going to sacrifice that. So I'm only trying to take on one or two things at a time to make sure I can give them the 100% effort that they deserve when they're talking about the biggest financial transaction, perhaps of their entire life. So that's critically important. And there is, I don't know what the word is, but there is some talk out there about full-time realtors versus part-time realtors. And I don't really think that distinction should be made, because even if you're a full-time realtor, you may still have to take the kid to the ball game, or you may still have your appointment for this or that. It's about the individual person and how they balance and manage their time, and can they do that effectively to put you in the best possible position to do what you want to do with real estate.
Yeah. Does being Joe Emer help you in selling houses?
It helps and hurts for the reason I was just talking about. I think it helps due to some notoriety, in the area. Some people are like, hey, we're working with a TV guy, they think it's kind of neat. But others are like, all right, you're the TV guy. This is a $800,000 home. What if I need you to do this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I always have plans in place to do that. Like I said, it's about how you manage your time. How effective can you be? What are your resources? What's your team like? Being a realtor is not a one-person job. It's so helpful to have a good home inspector, a good mortgage lender, a good title company, people you can call who are handyman, contractors, all that sort of stuff. So if you have your team in place, and that's something that you build over time too, then you can be more effective with your time. So yeah, having a name in the area from being on TV helps, but it can hurt. It's just based on whatever people's perception is.
So nice to have a realtor in the building too,
Yeah.
because I'm just trying to think about your past transactions. Like I can think of 5 people who you've helped here, and it's so nice too for all of us because you usually have to make these appointments, like make a phone call during work or we're already at work, right? So if you're on your lunch break, we could just chat with you. So it's been really nice for all of us too. What's your advice for someone who wants to get into this? What's step 1?
You know, I would say just think about where you want to be in life. How important is it? Is the potential return on investment worth your investment in time?
That's big.
I think that's the main question. And if those things can work out, then you're all set. Then go for it.
Yeah.
That's great advice. Well, everybody's gotten a chance to learn just a little bit more about you today because, that is one of those things that, matter of fact, as we were getting ready to film, I was walking down the hall and somebody's like, what are you doing? I'm like, going to talk to Joe about the podcast. And I told them why. They were like, he does real estate. I'm like, how do you not know? They were newer here.
Right.
But yeah, so enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, thank y'all
thank
so
you.
much. I think this is really cool what y'all are doing, and you both have a lot of knowledge in these areas with what we do here at Fox 10. Chelsey, you helping out in sales from time to time, and Dani, you have done so many things from leaving sales here at Fox 10 to doing your own thing to coming back. So you guys are experts too. So this is the right place for this podcast.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Well, we got to get you back on the show sometime.
Yeah.
Looking forward to just seeing you around the
Yes,
building.
yes. I'm looking forward to that
Looking
as
forward
well.
to Monday, Joe.
I'm looking forward to life.
This episode of Entrepreneurial Shades of Grey is brought to you by Honest Air Plumbing and Electric.